Here is a scenario every Fiori admin has faced. A user opens an app, sees the tile, clicks it, and gets an authorization error. Or worse, a user opens an app and sees data they shouldn't access. The root cause is almost always the same: a role design that mixes technical access with business authorization with Launchpad visibility. The three-tiered role architecture solves this by separating concerns into three distinct layers. In the next few minutes, you will learn how to design each tier, how they connect, and how to avoid the mistakes that cause 90% of Fiori authorization issues. The temptation is to create one PFCG role per job function that handles everything: ICF node activation, OData service authorization, business object permissions, and Launchpad tile visibility. This works in a proof of concept. Here is why. When you bundle everything into one role, a change to business authorization, say restricting a user to company code 1000, requires retesting the technical layer too. Role maintenance becomes a matrix of dependencies. Audit findings pile up because reviewers cannot separate "can the user reach the service" from "can the user see confidential data." The three-tier model eliminates this coupling by giving each concern its own role. The first tier is the technical role. Its job is simple. It contains three types of authorization. First, ICF node activation. Every Fiori app runs on an Internet Communication Framework node. The technical role includes the SICF_ADM authorization object to enable the relevant nodes. Second, OData start authorization. The S_SERVC authorization object with the specific OData service name. This lets the user call the service endpoint. Third, the SU24 proposal values. SU24 maps authorization objects to ICF services. When you run SU24 for an OData service, SAP proposes the minimum authorization objects needed. Your technical role should include these proposals unchanged. The critical rule: technical roles contain technical access. No company codes, no plant codes, no activity restrictions, just "can you reach the service?" The second tier is the business role. This is where your functional consultants define the transactions and access the user can access and the activities they can perform. Business roles contain authorization objects with specific field values. ACTVT, the activity field, controls create, change, display, and delete. BUKRS restricts to specific company codes. Works restricts to specific plants. These are the same authorization objects you have used for decades in classic SAP. The difference in the three-tier model is that business roles do not contain any technical access, no ICF node authorizations, no OData service authorizations, just business logic. This separation means your security team can modify business authorizations, like adding a new company code without touching the technical layer, and your basis team can activate new OData services without affecting business permissions. The third tier controls what the user sees in the Fiori Launchpad. In the Spaces and Pages model, this means space and page assignments. In the classic model, it means catalog and group assignments. The Launchpad content role determines tile visibility. A user might have technical access to an OData service and business authorization to view financial data, but if their Launchpad content role does not include the corresponding tile, they will never see the app. This tier is pure UX governance. It controls the user's navigation experience without affecting their back-end permissions. Changing a Launchpad content role never triggers a security audit because it does not grant data access. It only controls visibility. Let us trace the flow for a single app. Display General Ledger line items. Fiori app F0708. The user clicks the tile. First, The Launchpad checks Tier 3. Does the user's content role include this tile? If yes, the tile is visible and clickable. Second, the browser calls the OData service. Tier 1 checks, does the user's technical role authorize the ICF node in the OData service? If yes, the request reaches the backend. Third, the backend processes the request. Tier 2 checks, does the user's business role authorize company code 1000 with activity 03, which means display? If yes, data is returned. If any tier says no, the request fails, but each failure has an error. Tile missing, Tier 3. Service 403 error, Tier 1. No data or authorization dump, Tier 2. Two tables are critical to the technical tier. USOB-HASH stores the mapping between ICF services and their authorization objects. When SAP ships a new Fiori app, the authorization requirements are defined in USOB-HASH. USOB-X_C is the customer-specific version. When you run transaction SU24 and modify proposals for a service, your changes go into USOB-X_C. Here is the key point. When you run the PFCG role generator for a technical role, it reads USOB-X_C to populate authorization values. If your SU24 proposals are wrong, your generated roles will be always run SU24 synchronization after system upgrades to ensure your proposals reflect the latest SAP defaults. For Fiori apps built on core data services views, there is a fourth security mechanism, DCL, or Data Control Language. CDS access controls are defined in ABAP development tools and enforced at the ABAP. They control which rows a user can see in a CDS view. For example, a DCL annotation on a financial line item's CDS view can restrict results to only company codes the user is authorized for. This is more granular than traditional authorization checks because it filters data before it reaches the application layer. DCL works alongside your business role authorizations. The business role checks, can this user access company code 1000 at the transaction level? The DCL filters the actual data rows. In practice, you need both. DCL alone is not sufficient because it does not cover all authorization scenarios, and business roles alone do not filter at the CDS query level. Here is your action plan. First, inventory your current roles and identify where technical, business, and content authorizations are mixed. Second, create a naming convention, Z_TECH_ for technical roles, Z_BUS_ for business roles, Z_LP_ for Launchpad content roles. Third, run SU24 for every active OData service and synchronize proposals. Fourth, build technical roles from SU24 proposals only, no business values. Fifth, build business roles from functional requirements only, no technical objects. Sixth, assign Launchpad content through spaces and pages roles. Seventh, test each tier independently before combining. This separation pays for itself on the first audit, the first role change, and the first new app deployment.